Dear Mom,
My dear baby daughter,
finally, I have a free moment that I can take to drop you a line to let you know how I am doing. It has been so busy, it is really hard to find the time to write. But I know that you are worrying about me, so I'll try to email you as often as I can.
this is the first letter I will write to you, and I don't even know if you will get it. You were born while I was over here, and Lord knows how old you will be when I return. I am writing to let you know why your daddy is away.
The trip over here was exhausting. We left Montreal 6 days ago.
6 weeks ago.
But I think by now I have recovered. I barely slept on the plane.
Boat.
It was so noisy. Everyone was so excited.
I can't believe we are actually here.
I have been looking forward to
dreading
this for so long. I think I'm so lucky to be on this tour that we will actually see the place where Grandpa Jonathan fought.
I feel it is my duty to be on this tour to try to free Europe from a terrible oppression.
It all seems so unreal, after all the stories I have heard, the research I have done, that I'm actually here.
The stories I have heard about battle before I came are nothing compared to what I have seen in the past months. When we first arrived here in Italy, we landed in Rome, Sicily.
What a place! So much ancient history.
Death and destruction.
With the Romans, the Colosseum, the Vatican. Wow.
With the tanks, the artillery, the machine guns.
The Forum, the Vatican, the Trevi Fountain. So much to see. I have never walked so much in my life. We went to bed that night just exhausted, but thrilled to be in a foreign land.
But thrilled to be alive and beginning the fight against the Nazis.
Most of the Italians seemed so friendly.
So poorly trained, or their heart was just not in the fight, so desperate. They wanted to know where we were from, what Canada was like, but some, I think, just wanted our money. Were just following what their leaders had said.
We will need to be careful. On our first day, our tour guide was pickpocketed.
Our sergeant was killed by a sniper.
As you know, Italy had a very difficult position during the war. Their fascist leader, Mussolini, sided with the Nazi dictator Hitler. The people really had no choice. Most had to do what the leader said. And the people didn't really like all those Nazi soldiers everywhere, either. When the Allies discovered Europe was too well defended to invade, it was decided to attack from the south, from Italy, from the soft underbelly of Europe. That's where Grandpa Jonathan's regiment was sent.
Some Brits in England took to calling us the D-Day Dodgers, saying we are lucky to be in warm, sunny Italy, avoiding that hell that surely will be the invasion of France. Yeah, that's us all right. It has rained here for 3 straight months, and the mud is deeper than our trucks. Our advance up Italy has been on the backs of the dead, ours and theirs. A real picnic.
The weather here has been fantastic. The countryside is so beautiful, and all the farms along the highway are so quaint. I've taken so many pictures, I don't want to forget these scenes.
I wish it would stop raining. It makes our job so much harder. The battles have been just horrific. There are so many pictures I just can't get out of my mind. I wish I could forget these scenes.
What was even more weird was that after the first few days of the invasion of Italy, the Italians switched sides, and the Allies were seen as liberators, not invaders. But the Germans were so well dug in, they were instructed to defend Italy to the death. What an order!
I don't know if we can trust them. Yesterday, they were shooting at us. Today, they were supposed to be our allies. I suppose the Italians don't care much who they shoot at. We are all foreigners in their land. Most of our guys will not fight with Italian soldiers because the battlefield. It is the guy next to you you have to count on. We just can't do it, but we sure could use the help against the Nazis. They are so well dug in.
3 days ago, we saw our first battlefield.
We had our hardest battle yet.
Not much to look at. A few hills, a quiet river, half as wide as the Ticini.
It was the worst possible place, surrounded by hills, and we were ordered to cross the river.
There was a ruin of an old artillery gun, but mostly farms, olive trees, and sheep.
During the cover of night, we assembled a division of tanks, small boats, and bridge-building equipment.
Standing there in the sunshine, it is so hard to imagine that Grandpa and the other allies went through hell on this very spot.
When morning came, all hell broke loose. We were sitting ducks as the machine guns on the other bank cut us down.
It all seemed so tranquil, so quiet. I took my shoes off and walked along the grass. It felt so good after all that snow I left behind at home.
A friend of mine had his boots blown off by a landmine. I dragged him through the mud to the rear lines, but he didn't make it.
Later that afternoon,
we buried our dead.
we went to one of the many war cemeteries.
Mostly, they were large pits in the mud. We don't have time to identify them. Perhaps later they will find the rest they deserve.
They are all so well kept, tidy, peaceful. Most of us wandered up and down the rows, reading the names, their ages, where they are from, and their epitaphs. It was all very sobering, thinking that many of these soldiers were no older than myself when they died. Most of them in this cemetery are Canadians,
but some of them are from other countries too. Americans, New Zealanders, Brits, soldiers from India, Australia.
We didn't even know them, and as we read their tombstones, we got tears in our eyes.
They were all friends of mine, and I wept uncontrollably.
I got your email, by the way. I'm glad to hear the Oilers finally won a game. And you guys had rain yesterday? Wow. In March? It must have been really nasty. I hope it didn't wipe out Mount Sema. Your emails are so good to get. I get kind of lonely despite people around me all the time. Your Facebook page really helps me stay in touch with what is going on at home.
Thanks to your mom so much for the letter last week. It takes 3 months for me to get it, and so it's not really news, but I love them so much. It keeps me connected to home, reminds me of what love is, reminds me of why I'm over here. Please, please keep writing. I need letters from home to help me breathe. I witnessed the saddest thing yesterday. Our platoon was moving through a village after clearing it from Nazi machine gun posts. I saw a young girl, maybe 9, pulling up grass and eating it. She was so thin you could almost see through her. I guess the Nazis had taken the food in the village to feed the soldiers. I gave her what food I had with me, including a bar of chocolate. I don't think I've ever seen such a look of gratitude in anyone's eyes. These people have suffered for so long. I picked a flower from the side of the road and tied it in her hair. I don't know why I did that. I just wanted to give her hope, I think.
We met a very old Italian lady yesterday. She brings flour to a monument for fallen Canadian soldiers. She says the reason she does this is because she is so grateful for what the Canadians have done. As a child, she had no food during the war. The German army took it all for their troops. She remembers eating roots and grass. Her father was murdered by the Nazis for hiding some of the Jews in her village. She remembers when the Canadian soldiers liberated her village. Everyone was so happy. One of the soldiers gave her flour and some chocolate today. Very few people in Italy remember that, so she brings flowers every day to the monument to honor and thank them. All of us are deeply touched by her dedication. I'm starting to understand a little of why Grandpa Jonathan enlisted in the army.
We have been ordered to cross the Morrill River tomorrow.
We went to the Morrill River battlefield today, as well as the nearby cemetery. Really, it was the highlight of our trip. The reason I wanted to come. I know this is where Grandpa Jonathan's life ended, and where he is buried.
When I saw the town we had to take, my heart sank. Hills surrounded it, loaded with machine gun nests, barbed wire fence every 20 yards. All the trees that could offer any cover, burnt down.
When I saw where the battle was, I couldn't believe it. Nice, grassy hills, a shallow creek, nothing of any value. Why was this little ditch so important that thousands of young men would die here?
It was the end of the Gustav Line, a defensive perimeter the Germans were ordered to never give up. It was our mission to take it. If we were able to break through, we would be able to push the German army past Rome, and Italy would be liberated.
The creek is so small. Even without my rubber boots, I could easily jump from one side to the other. How difficult could it be for an army to cross this?
The river is so wide, swollen from all the rain in the last 6 months. I think it is impossible to cross. The enemy is on the hill on the other side, ready to slaughter those coming across. Our unit is attempting to cross downstream tomorrow. I don't know how the day will end. Your mother and I talked about this before I left. If I die, she will grieve, but we'll carry on. I am at peace. My thoughts are with you, my precious. My daughter, whom I have never really met, born while I was in the mud in a foreign land. When I really think about it, though, I am here for you, for your future. so that you might live free from fear.
I know you never met him, Mom. You were born while he was in Italy, and it was hard for you to grow up without knowing your real father. I was hoping that somehow, during this battlefield tour, I would get a sense of what Grandpa did, why he did it, because it never made any sense to me. From the people that I have met, from the pictures I have seen, from the stories that I have heard, I now know that if it wasn't for people like Grandpa, people in Europe would not have been liberated from a horrible oppression. I know that it cost him and thousands of other Canadians their lives, and the freedom we have today, we owe to the sacrifices they made. I wanted to bring home something from him, Mom, but there was nothing.
How I want to reach out and touch you, my precious. If I could hold you but once before I die, I would be happy.
So I made a pencil rubbing on paper of his tombstone. Below his name it said, "How went the day? I gave my all, but know not if we were victorious." This paper is something of his you can touch, to connect with. I know it's not much, but I think he would have wanted it.
I don't know how this day will end, my dear, but today, from so far away, I send you my love. Your loving dad, Jonathan.
When the rest of the tour left, I stayed behind and talked to him. I answered his questions and told him he won, that the day went well, that his sacrifice was not in vain. And I told him all about you, the daughter he never met.